Awesome. Okay. Aloha kakahiaka kako. I call this meeting to order. Karan, can we please start with the roll call?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me, Chair? Okay,
Yes.
starting with Chair Aligato,
Present.
Vice Chair Keener,
Present.
Commissioner Islam,
Present.
Commissioner Romine.
Present.
Chair, I understand Commissioner Otsuka is absent today.
That is correct.
Okay, we have quorum.
Mahalo, so we're going to start with the third item on our agenda, which is approval of the minutes from last month. I'm just going to share the screen so we can take a look. And I'm going to start by asking the commissioners if any of you have any changes or updates to the minutes or corrections that we sent out. As you may note, just from kind of what has been our convention is that because we have the video recording, instead of taking very tedious notes on this, we're going to be adding in the time stamp from those agenda items, but we still will have any links to relevant information. So I just wanted to start, maybe I'll start with Commissioner Islam. Do you have any edits to the notes?
No edits to the notes. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Romine?
No edits, Chair. Thank you.
Vice Chair Keener?
No edits, thank you.
Great. So is there a motion to adopt the minutes of the Climate Change Commission meetings from December 2023? 22, rather.
I motion to adopt the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second that. Thank you.
Okay, let's vote. By show of hands, who supports adoption of the minutes? Okay, I see visual confirmation that 4 of our commissioners have adopted it. So, have voted aye, and so we will approve the minutes from the last meeting. We are like rolling right along. Now I want to invite Director Gonzer to provide a report on the activities of the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resilience.
Aloha Chair, Commissioners, members of the community. Matt Gonzer, Director for the City's Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency. Happy to be with you again here in the new year. The last meeting of December the 16th, obviously, hopefully we all had a little bit of a quiet and restful and reflective time through the new calendar year. But as a bit of topical information, I just wanted to start right off in recognizing that last week NOAA reported that 2022 was the 6th hottest year on record. NASA is actually reporting it as the 5th hottest year on record. And really the top 8 temperature years have been the last 8 years. And this is even within differential patterns of El Nino and La Nina. This really highlights the growing concern of increasing temperatures and greater climate heat risks. So we also greatly appreciate the Commission for keeping us most informed and current with your 2 topics today, discussing the in-process climate brief update and really bringing special attention to this issue of heat and that in-process guidance document as well. But moving more specifically into the office, I wanted to extend a warm welcome to our newest CCSR team member who just joined us on Tuesday, Emily McKinney, serving as the Climate Equity Manager. Obviously also very timely with the Commission's recent update to your climate change and social equity guidance document and your reaffirmation through the recently signed equity pledge. Emily was born and raised here on Oahu, has both nonprofit and private sector experience here in Hawaii and in California, comes from a background of urban planning, public health, and economics. And we're looking forward to her really advancing our climate equity work, both within the office, internally within the city, and then also extending that out into community to amplify voices and make sure that we are doing the work within our portfolio of climate change, sustainability, and resiliency. And then really lastly, Chair, I just wanted to, since I have the floor, take time to share some reflections that we're quite proud of, both within the office and the city generally from 2022, and then share with you all what we're looking ahead and have on deck for 2023. So really last calendar year, through collaboration and leadership with city departments, community partners, the commission, and community members, together we were able to increase water conservation and efficiency in new construction by updating a new plumbing code with local amendments to really drive home efficiency. We progressed on city energy and water efficiency projects and launched an array of improvements at city parks. We established a Better Buildings benchmarking program, exercised equitable engagement practices through the Climate Ready Oahu Adaptation Strategy Project, and this was recognized by the local chapter of the American Planning Association with an award for Best in Public Outreach and Education through the Games, Are You Climate Ready? We facilitated installation of more rooftop solar through a very simple amendment to the city's land use ordinance. In partnership with other institutional leaders, we launched the Oahu Good Food Purchasing Program and new ag grants through the Fiscal Recovery Fund. In working with you all, CCSR provided administrative support for 7 Climate Change Commission meetings last calendar year. And then lastly, we welcomed 6 CCSR AmeriCorps Vistas and 4 new staff to the team just last calendar year. And looking ahead, we have many things on the horizon within big broad themes of climate action and affordability, climate change adaptation, and supporting local ag and food security and sustainability. And within those, a little bit more specifically, we're looking forward to implementing electric vehicle fleet pilot and initiating agency-specific transition plans. So this is in conformance with an ordinance and city law to convert our fleet. Initiating an affordable housing retrofit accelerator program, really capitalizing on a wealth of federal resources and a need to bring more support to a specific sector of the community. Updating shoreline rules and regulations that are still hot topics into this new council and new calendar year. As I mentioned, launching and ultimately adopting Climate Ready Oahu, the city's first adaptation strategy. Starting food recovery and composting partnerships in both Chinatown and Windward areas. Continuing the Equity Foundations training for city employees, which is one of our great resources that we can do internally to really institutionalize the work, and advancing several hazard mitigation projects and other partnership grants. And I'm sure there's more, and we look forward to sharing all of that out through this calendar year and beyond.
Director Gonzer, that's totally amazing. I'm always amazed and impressed by all the work that your office does. Very warm welcome to Emily. We're very excited. This is a very much needed position that needed to be filled because precisely what you said, because of our equity pledge, but also because of how much we care about ensuring a just climate future for the people of Oahu. I do have a question, but I wanted to open it up first to the other commissioners. Let's start with Vice Chair Keener. Do you have any questions or comments for Director Gonzer?
Thanks, Rosie. Hi, Matt. Always extremely impressive. I was wondering about the adaptation strategy. I know you said that it will be adopted this year, but I was wondering if you had any more specific timeline on that.
Yeah, we're looking for a public review period, hopefully in the coming months, maybe March into April, making sure that there's really sufficient time for many people to sit with it, reflect upon it, provide feedback and comments, similar to what was done through the Climate Action Plan a couple of years ago. Really looking towards hopefully an introduction at council, probably June into July, and hopefully swift adoption in alignment with some of the budget proposals that council will be considering starting March of this calendar year.
Great, thank you. Also, I just wanted to ask about the other future project you had noted about the advancing hazard mitigation. Do you have any details on exactly what types of hazards the office is looking at addressing through different adaptations this year?
So that last comment is more a reflection on existing FEMA grants that are already in the works, and they are supporting capacity in DPP to address the shoreline rules and regulations that I mentioned, as well as some new flood hazard analyses, and a pretty unique project that is a really interesting intergovernmental partnership working with the Department of Education and Kapiolani Community College for a microgrid and battery backup system at Kaimuki Middle School. So we were the local sponsor. Maybe not in the future do we want to serve that administrative role, but it was a great opportunity to coalesce around an interesting project that potentially has ability to be replicated. It's both the school for itself, the city works with state on identifying shelters during emergencies, and that whole area of the Kaimuki complex serves that benefit. So it's why there is this city to state partnership, when potentially it could be really just seen as kind of an installation or a capital project at a school.
Thanks. I'll pass on to the next commissioner.
Sure. How about Commissioner Islam?
Hi, Matt. Thanks again for always a great update. I love hearing what the Resiliency Office is doing. I just want to welcome Emily to the team. Happy to have you on board, and glad that you guys are sort of filling all the necessary positions. It sounds like there's a lot of things looking ahead for this year, 2023. I just wanted to sort of touch upon the Affordable Housing Retrofit Program. I wanted to know if there were any details you could share with us as to what the program will be focusing on, what's your timeline, and how can people, get engaged or get prepared for this process?
Yeah, it's very nascent, Commissioner Islam. So the intention is to really research and think through the framework for how the city could develop a program. We've seen other municipal models in cities like DC and elsewhere that are a little bit more longstanding, and they have direct municipal funds. We're trying to really look over the horizon with some of the federal funding opportunities, some of our partnerships with Hawaii Energy and the opportunities there. So it is super early. And the point would be to really help specific segments of the population navigate these potential resources, maybe catalyze it by supporting even some of the audits to help them think through what of the funding opportunities make the most sense for their application. So it's partly technical assistance, identifying the buildings, the operators, the occupants that we should really target, and that those decisions haven't been made yet.
Well, keep us posted. I think it's an avenue that we all need to be in, right? A space of sort of how do we get our existing housing stock to be more efficient. So thank you.
Commissioner Romine?
Thank you, Matt, for the updates and all the great work from your office. And welcome, Emily. That's great to hear. That position has been filled. I had a few questions for you. I wonder if you had any updates or information you can share about the status of the setback and special management area bills, if you know if those are going to be heard in the coming months by the council.
I don't have any definitive dates. For the group's awareness, there was an informational briefing back in November, which provided a very open and neutral opportunity to really just talk through the proposals, talk through the potential implications without any of the pressure of decision-making at that time. There's been transition with 3 new council members starting this month, sort of realignment and assignment of different committees. These 2 bills, Bills 41 and 42, were assigned to the Planning and Economy Committee, which Councilmember Kia'aina is chair and Councilmember Cordero now vice chairs, along with Councilmember Say and 2 of the new council members, Councilmember Okuma, oh, my apologies, Val, and Councilmember Matt Wire. So I don't have specifics on the dates, Brad. We did hear from Councilmember Kia'aina last year that she's inclined to advance them within the first quarter. And there's ongoing discussions with staff, but we're looking forward to re-engaging in that swiftly.
Great, thanks for that. I'm also wondering, is your office presently working on some pre-disaster recovery planning. Do you have a project around that? And
Yep,
I'm
so
just wondering
that's
what the status is. Yeah, thanks.
yeah, actually that relates to the question from Commissioner Keener. So that's one of the FEMA grants is support for a long-term disaster recovery plan. And that means many different things. It's even a new, there aren't many examples across the country. Usually municipalities develop these plans after a tornado rips through their community or they've been significantly impacted by a hazard event. We're trying to be a little bit more proactive, and this is consistent with Ordinance 20-47, which said the office in partnership with Department of Emergency Management is to develop a long-term recovery plan. The leadership in DEM, Hirotoya and Jennifer Walters, they're really overhauling the suite of city emergency operation plans, and they see this as a great opportunity to really elevate people's awareness of the spectrum from response relief, midterm recovery to long-term recovery. So we're really trying to make sure it aligns with their vision for emergency operations as well, and help engage community to think through, what COVID is a unique analog for what long-term recovery is from an event, right? We're still in it. There's still money out there. There's lots of things that are happening, highlighting challenges within capacity for the city to manage these resources. There's still lessons to learn from Kauai and Aniki over 30 years ago. And it's not that it will put forth like a future land use proposal or new maps for that kind of, we just don't have the capacity or resources or time to get to that stage. And frankly, the community plans that DPP advances really continue to be the vision for community in the future and all the integration of the climate change and hazard information there.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that, Matthew. Appreciate it.
Hey Matt, I have a couple of questions. One is I like to flag items for the future that we need to be tracking. So just to kind of confirm that, given that the timeline for adoption of the Climate Ready Plan might be introduced at council, I just wanted to confirm, is that something we should flag as something we should be prepared to give testimony on in the future? And then also again for potentially Bill 41 or 42, with the status of the setback special management. But are those things that, in the future we might want to provide testimony for?
That's certainly the commission's choice. We can assist on thinking through the calendar. We know it's challenging. Obviously, sometimes an agenda won't come out any less than 6 days in advance of a meeting, which maybe doesn't sync up with this commission's ability to sort of draft, comment, agendize a draft letter. But I'll review the commission calendar, which is out now, so that we can think through the schedule of both committee dates, council dates, and perhaps I can work with chair and vice chair on that just for your planning as well.
That's great. Thanks. I just want us to have time to, maybe we can even draft ahead of time and have it waiting, and then, we approve it, and whenever schedule comes out, we'll have something that was properly vetted by everybody. And then a related question to that is, I know not all the bills have come out yet, but are there any state legislation that might be affecting our work on the commission that we might want to be tracking? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't have insight on that yet. We ourselves will be, diving into it more deeply into early next week. And we'd be happy to share in a subsequent meeting those items that we're tracking, commenting on, et cetera.
Great, thanks. At this time, I wanted to see if there was any questions or testimony from the public on this item. I just realized I forgot to ask for the approval of the minutes, but that was like so fast. But if anybody has any questions, please indicate in the chat, and I'm happy to recognize you and have you ask any questions. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is
Chair, if I might just re-emphasize, I appreciate the the commissioner's comments about the work of the office. That litany, that laundry list of 2022 accomplishments and 2023 look ahead, that's not just our work, that's collective work of all the agencies, community partners, leadership across the board. So I just wanted to reinforce that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a Kako thing where you have, I mean, it's leverage, right? The reason why OCCSR is able to do stuff is because of the partnerships with the other agencies. And I mean, I think that um, it's a great reflection of how important other agencies see this issue that you have been able to forge these partnerships. So absolutely.
Thank you again.
For the reminder. So we're going to move on to item agenda 5, where we're going to look at status updates to the Commission's climate change brief. As a reminder, this was originally adopted in 2018, and so it is far time for us to update it because we know that the climate has, a lot of our models and projections have changed, and we have more knowledge about our local conditions. And it was assigned to Commissioners Romine and Vice Chair Keener, and so I'd like to turn it over to them to give us an update on what we can expect, or what their needs might be.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. As we discussed in the December meeting, we are still aiming for the February Commission meeting to deliver an updated draft to you all. And we're making some progress. I am pleased to say that we got through Climate Week last week successfully. Opens up my schedule. I think that's same for Commissioner Keener to really dive further into this and make and try to finish out the draft here. A couple plans that Victoria and I discussed that I'd like to share and happy to discuss with the Commission if needed is we've identified some outside reviewers to look at the individual topical sections of our draft, and we'd like to share with that with them by the end of this month, by the end of January. Following that and their input, we'd like to deliver a draft to the Commission at the February meeting as agreed. And at that time, would like to hand it off to 2 other commissioners if they're willing and able to volunteer to review the draft at that point and provide their input. So we hope it'll be a clean, ready draft at that point after the outside review and our work on it, and would like to hand it off for further Commission review. And I pass it over to Victoria if you have anything to add to that.
Thanks, Brad. So I just wanted to bring up that the other option, so that's been our kind of framework for having these guidance documents reviewed and making sure everyone gets their eyes on them. But I was just thinking about how the climate brief is slightly different in intention. You know, it's more of a technical brief. And so the other option that I was just thinking about, Brad, is that we could, at the February meeting, do a presentation of the main findings and go through, like, just do a, make a PowerPoint of the main findings in each section very briefly. And then, we'll have shared the draft document with the public and the Commission for that meeting. And then we could talk about at that point if there is the need to pass it off to other commissioners for review, and if everyone agrees that there is, then we can do that and transfer. But if there isn't, we could do some live editing as needed, or just maybe finalize it there. So that's always an option.
I like your suggestion, Commissioner Keener. Commissioner Islam, do you have any comment on that modified process suggestion?
No, I actually like that process. It's sort of what I'm familiar with and what we've done previously, right? And so that brief is a little different. So I think getting a high-level overview of the updates would be great at February.
That sounds great to me. I think it's great for the public too, because then you can call out the things that have changed over the past 5 years. Particular either models or particular data points that are very different or changed. And I think, as I recall, one aspect of the climate brief update is that we're going to be really trying to focus on localized, more regional impacts as opposed to global impacts. I mean, people can get global impacts anywhere, but we really need to understand what's going to be happening here in Hawaii and on Oahu. So I am really looking forward to that, and I think that's a great idea. At this time, I want to open it up to any questions or comments from the public about this update to the climate change brief. Please feel free to put it in the chat. Okay, seeing none, and again, I just want to say if I miss anything, please just flag me. I'm looking at the chat, I'm looking around to see if anybody's raising hands. Also, or if there's any comments from the Facebook feed, please let me know. We're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is an update on the community co-review feedback for the heat paper. As you may recall, the heat paper pretty much in general has been the text has been agreed upon, but we really realized that we wanted to have all of our guidance documents go through a similar process where we have really engaged community co-review, and that is again related to our equity pledge. I'm going to ask Commissioner Islam to provide us with some updates and progress, and let us know if there's any any challenges that we can discuss and help find solutions for.
Thank you, Chair. So Commissioner Osuka and I have talked about our strategy very briefly, but we're scheduled to actually meet in 2 weeks to really talk about beginning of February of where we see, making some updates and some structural changes to it. Commissioner Osuka wants to look, I think, more at kind of the transportation related elements. I specifically want to look at some of the mitigation adaptation strategies that we're talking about and localize it to our urban Honolulu context. We were also informed, like what Matt shared today, about the 5th, 6th hottest year, right, yesterday in our community. So we'll probably make some suggestive updates to that as well. So at our February meeting, we'll probably have more substantive direction on where we are with the paper once we've
Okay,
convened.
and I just wanted to say it's not only just updating the paper.
Mhm.
I did want to ask if you had any progress on holding meetings with the public. That was one of the major areas that we needed to kind of cover with that paper. It was not so much the a substantive update, but it's great if you do have some areas that we missed before, but really thinking through how are we going to share this information and get comments more broadly from the public.
Yes, we will. We did discuss that briefly. We do need to meet to kind of talk about our strategy. But I think the intention is to get, a diversity of industry community involved in the conversation. In the past, I think we've done it kind of virtually in small group meetings, and I think that might be a suggested strategy. But I do want to wait to the meeting that we have with Commissioner Osuka to kind of talk about and hear her ideas as well. So I think if it's okay at February, we'll kind of report on our plan.
Okay.
And our timeline. Yeah.
So what I'm thinking, this is just kind of sorry, getting into the weeds here, is I want to give you guys time to meet about that. So what would us circling back in March, what does that sound good? Then you have time to meet and figure out versus the February meeting?
Yeah, we actually have a meeting already scheduled, Commissioner Osuka and I, on the 3rd of February. So it actually would be some in advance, of our 17th meeting. I think we'll have at least a general plan of our outreach. So I think it's fair to hold the February so that we're not delaying this, right? And then hopefully at March, we can have some update on our progress of outreach, at least the scheduling of meetings and who we've been in touch with.
That sounds great. And again, I want to open this up if any other commissioners have comments on the heat paper. I want to open that up now to either Commissioner Romine or Keener. Please feel free to just go for it.
Hi, Melanie. Thanks for the update. And I am, having gone through the stakeholder process with the buildings emissions document, happy to talk to you about any suggestions or if you want advice about process.
Great. Thanks, Vicki.
Okay. Commissioner Roman, if you have anything, otherwise, yeah.
No, nothing to add to the discussion, but thank you for the update, Melanie.
Great. We really appreciate you and Kiana, Commissioner Otsuka, carrying that responsibility to make sure we get good feedback from the public. And so also opening it up right now to the public, if you have any comments on our process for creating community co-review for the heat paper. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to agenda point number 7, which is discussion and action on the PUCDP, I think. It's a lot of sorry, alphabet soup, so I apologize if I got the acronym wrong. Feedback. Commissioner Otsuka and Commissioner Islam were, I believe, some of the main people leading this effort, and so I want to turn back to Commissioner Islam to kind of summarize for us, and I also have ready to go if we want to review that feedback, or Commissioner Islam, you can share your screen and kind of show the table of feedback that we have from the commissioners. I also wanted to ask, I believe Commissioner Romine, you did have some role in the initial formation of this report, and are you recusing yourself from this discussion? I can't remember.
That is correct, Chair. Yeah, I did work on a project that provided some guidance, science-based input particularly for the sea level rise and climate change components of the PUCDP. So I was advised and am recusing myself from the Commission's comments on the draft plan.
Okay, great. I'm also glad to see that our attorney, Courtney Suako, is back. She stepped off for a little bit. And so I wanted to confirm with Courtney. So we have 4 commissioners present. Commissioner Romine is stepping back, which means we have 3 commissioners, although 4 commissioners provided feedback on this. I just want to make sure, as far as any action, can we submit this if Commissioner Otsuka is not present, but she's given feedback to this issue?
And good morning, Chair Allegado. And can everybody hear me? I just wanted to check.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great, thank you. Could I ask what item we are on?
We are on item number 7, which was the discussion and feedback that the commissioners were asked to provide feedback on the PUC development plan. No, the PUDP, the Primary Urban Core Development Plan.
All right, so you're just voting to take board action basically on submitting?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. You should be able to submit that via a majority vote. So that would be 3 out of 5 of the members.
Okay, perfect. And we have that. Great. Thank you. All right. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Islam to walk us through. Please feel free to share screen if you think that would be helpful in explaining to the commissioners and the public who are here what this matter is and what we're doing.
Sure, definitely happy to share my screen with the comments. But first, I'll just give an overview. So at the January meeting, we had a presentation by the Planning Department on their development plan updates for the Primary Urban Core development plan. I think we all agreed as a commission that we would provide some comments to as much as I think 12 sections in there. So we've gone through sort of a process of having a sort of look at specific sections. We've covered the housing, the healthy communities, transportation and mobility. We've looked at water, and yeah, those are the main areas we've looked at. So I'm going to share my screen. The comments I think were shared to everyone in the agenda package. But just to kind of go high level over what some of the comments were. So with the housing comment, it was really kind of to draw a synergy between a lot of the tenants that were sort of talked about in the healthy communities, that green affordable housing sort of is one, and just recognizing that we're sort of at a critical time in building. So we listed some specific examples of green affordable housing that currently exists in our urban core area, just to give some context to that comment. And then we just sort of went step by step and looked at some of these comments in healthy communities that really kind of focused more on occupant well-being. There was a comment that we wanted to revise or suggested revising the word indoor air quality into indoor environmental air quality, because it's more inclusive. It talks about not just the quality, but the quality of the environment in there, the access to daylight, views, and healthy materials. One additional point in the healthy community was also a healthy building sort of checklist. And we thought that was a really great suggestion. We recommended just integration throughout all departments to help streamline how compliance can occur, particularly during the permitting process, when new projects or redevelopments come in, so to ensure that these policies are continued forward. We then just made some clarifying things on what green building certification programs that are nationally, internationally recognized that perhaps the PUC should reference if they're going to be supportive of those actions. One comment with regards to the building benchmarking. So there was a comment of encouraging building benchmarking. Our city has taken some precedence in that we've already adopted those rules in 2022. So it was an encouragement to start looking at building performance standards. That's sort of the next steps when we begin to understand sort of the profile, the energy profile of our building stock. A suggestion to go beyond EV ready and start to consider PV ready in some of our buildings. There's a lot of discussion within the healthy communities about monitoring new systems, new technologies, and we just suggested more expansion of that, looking really about resiliency. So battery energy storage systems, microgrid technologies, and grid integration technologies. Those really just help sort of the buildings become sort of an infrastructure stock within our larger grid. And then we had a comment around a map. There was a really great map that began to overlay sort of the equity piece with our community. And we just want to sort of build upon that and shared a resource out from Boston, City of Boston. There was an additional comment about water resources. And this was really to look at introducing alternate water systems back into our building. I think our national plumbing code allows for that. It would be great if our local and state codes could support that. And given the structure of the development plans, how they help to sort of influence our ordinances, I think there's opportunity for that. It just helps to sort of reduce the demand on our potable water use. And then we had, specific comments on mobility and connectivity, really sort of looking at just the outreach of our Wahoo bike plan and finding ways to create more safety and comfortability for all of our users. We also then sort of looked at the scenarios for just the emission transmission. So versus kind of human mode versus electric modes. So providing clarification to that under the adaptability for more flexible transportation. And then Commissioner Keener provided great comments on sort of the water section. Some more, I think, clarifying language, right? Specifically to how we address drought and that it's an ongoing crisis. She commented, there was a great example of how we wove in the One Water model. And then lastly, sort of, I think, looking at the impacts of Red Hill and all of our secondary and tertiary water systems. So you'll see sort of throughout that, I think Red Hill is becoming a critical topic, and it's just part of our kind of adaptation strategies as we look at a critical resource. So we covered, again, the housing, healthy communities, water, mobility, and transportation as sort of the key points of our comments. Are there any questions from the commission? I just went over kind of like high level what they were all are, but I'm sure all of you had a chance to maybe read them.
Yes, you will note that I didn't add in comments.
Mhm.
I was a little bit confused by the process, so I wanted
Yeah.
to in talking to um Director Gonzer and our attorney Courtney Zoako, I decided to just bring my comments and make them here. In the main, I thought this
Yeah.
was a really detailed plan, and I also, similar to Commissioner Keener, appreciated the weaving of the one water concept.
Mhm.
I think my biggest commentary on this that I'd like to have added in really has to do with wanting to see more um, language on equity. I think that was the one thing that I felt what could have been emphasized more. So I feel like the climate justice aspects could be better. I felt like it was not as explicit or strong as I would have wanted. The final thing, and I couldn't figure out where exactly I would put this, is I just have this sense that Oahu might be super ripe for a major heat wave disaster, and I wasn't sure where that was being articulated or kind of addressed in the plan. So those are my two
Mhm.
major. I was kind of looking at it as an overview, and so
Mhm.
those are the two comments that I have from me. Um, in kind of thinking about moving forward, I did want to ask Director Gonzer and Commissioner Islam, what is the format that we're going to submit our comments? Is the idea that we are going to just submit this table as it is? Are we going to have a cover letter?
Yeah, I had actually prepared a really brief cover letter and shared it with Kiana or Commissioner Osuko, and I thought perhaps it got forwarded on. But the intention was to prepare a cover letter, and I think, Chair, that's where we could maybe draw in more of that intersectionality, that climate justice piece, the equity piece, um, and the heat into the cover letter. And then our intention was to then append these comments to the cover letter, because the comments are really to specific sections and policies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that if you were going to append a cover letter, you should share
yeah,
it now,
yeah,
as the cover
sure.
letter needs to be, I think,
Yeah,
endorsed by everybody on the commission.
I know. Yeah. Hold
We
on.
didn't, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
Courtney, can you advise, do you think that's advisable that Commissioner Islam shares the cover letter at this time?
So thank you, Chair Aligato. So the agenda does not actually, well, okay, so the agenda item states discussion and action on commission comments letter on the 2022 public review draft of City and County of Honolulu. And was this was this table made available as part of the board packet or posted on the commission website beforehand?
Yes.
Okay, and was the cover letter also made available beforehand?
No.
No.
Okay, so I think that there may not be sufficient public notice for there to be a discussion and presentation of the cover letter itself. So what I would advise is agendizing that for a later meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
The issue with that is I believe comments are due before our next.
31st. Yeah, January. I can reach out to, I'm sure they'll welcome late comments, right? I think comments are always welcome, but we can inquire to see if they would accept late comments.
Yeah, I think like if you could do that and then
Yep.
just explain
Sure.
that we want to have a summative
Mhm.
a summative cover letter that that has been sunshined properly,
Yes.
then we can do that. And I think I think this is a really we want to be as proactive as possible, and so it's hard. It's hard to figure out all the parts and
Yeah.
pieces that we have to and figure out the best way to do this under sunshine so that we can
Yeah.
all provide comments and then it can all come together. So if you could find out, that would be great. And then please convey that or please CC Commissioner Director Gonzer so that he can also help us to track that. And we'll definitely agendize it on the next meeting.
Okay. That sounds
And
like a plan.
Chair Allegado, if I may add as well, and I realize this will take some nimble maneuvering too, but if the comments are not due until the 31st, you do still have some time to notice another meeting before the 31st if you wanted to try to like do an actual meeting before the 31st.
Okay. I will, thank you for that suggestion. I will discuss it with Director Gonzer to see if that might be possible. Okay, so we'll follow up on that. It may or may not be based on everybody's availabilities, but we'll see. And again, this apologies everybody for the public, but this is one of those things where because we are trying to be very active and we're often asked to provide feedback or testimony on things, we just really want to make sure that we create and follow processes and procedures that keep us in sunshine but allow us to be very responsive. So, okay, we will work on this item. Is there any other comments from any well, I guess Commissioner Keener is the only other commissioner who can comment on this. I don't know if you wanted to add in anything, Vicki.
Like Melanie said, I bet that they will be, the office will be open to accepting comments a little bit after the date. But, if they are not open to that, we could just submit the comments that have been properly sunshined in table form and
Yep,
without a cover letter.
I agree. Yeah, I would like to figure out a way to have my comments added to that, but yes, agreed. I mean, I guess we could just I could just add it on as my comments.
You could submit as a member of the public also.
Yeah, I could submit as a member of the public. Okay, great. Any comments or questions on this agenda item from the public on this? Okay, seeing none. Oh, yes, Director Gonzer.
Just reacting to Commissioner Keener's proposal, certainly one, you would need to vote on the table as presented and discussed and agree upon those as the commission's comments. And we could email them from the commission's email address as the voted this day, approved, and transmit the table over to the Department of Planning and Permitting.
So just a follow-up question, Matt, since we're all here, should we vote right now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say vote with the amendments that I made, with
Yeah.
the suggestions that I made, right? Because when in the past, when we do it, when we take votes, right, like we're allowed to have comments and then we edit it and then we vote on the updated version.
We would need to receive those then in a
written form. Well, so yeah, so that was part of the problem is like we only received the table in a PDF form. We didn't receive it, like I can't live update it right now.
understood on the meeting materials, yes.
However, I mean, yeah. Okay. We are in a pickle. Vicky, do you have any ideas of what we should do?
Would you be comfortable, Rosie, in submitting your comments separately written as a member of the public?
Yes, I can do that.
I think that might be the easiest way through is to vote on this. And if we approve it now, we can submit officially and meet the deadline from the commission's email address as Director Gonster noted. And then separately, you can make your kind of overall comments as a member of the public to meet the deadline,
That
but
sounds
outside of the commission.
Okay, so do we have a motion then to adopt the feedback as something we want to transmit for our comments? Do we have a motion to send our to accept the comments that we've provided and send them off?
I motion to adopt the comments as submitted and submit them as from the commission to the agency.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, those who are able to vote, so that would be excluding Commissioner Romine, can we get an aye in support of submitting the comments as they are?
Aye.
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 Okay, any nays? Okay, seeing none, the commission is going to adopt the comments and feedback that have been provided for the PUCDP and submit them, and then I will separately submit my comments as a member of the public to the agency as well.
Chair, just clarity on the vote for our records in the minutes. Commissioner Romine is permitted to vote. He voted to abstain.
Yes, sorry, voted to abstain. Thank you. Okay, rolling on. We are on agenda item 8, communications and correspondence from the public. This month we didn't have any, unless we have anybody who wants to talk right now. I did see that we had a question from the Facebook stream that asks the question of what are the staffing costs for this committee, from Debbie Haugwell. I apologize if I said your name incorrectly, pronounced it wrong. I'm not sure what committee Debbie is referring to. I'm not sure if it's OCCSR or the Climate Change Commission or another committee that we have brought up. But I will ask for Director Gonzer's assistance in answering this question, perhaps.
Assuming it was a question about the commission itself, I could provide a response to that effect, Chair.
Yes, please.
Okay. Just to clarify, per city charter on the election of 2016, which established the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency, it also established the convening of the city's Climate Change Commission, which are 5 experts in the fields of climate change in Hawaii. Their role and responsibility is to gather latest science and information on climate change effects in the city and provide advice as deemed appropriate to myself as the executive for the office and any subsequent executive for the office, along with the city council, the mayor, and executive departments. The commissioners themselves, along in the same vein as all of the city boards and commissions, are volunteers. They are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. And we facilitate the convening and success of the commission through staff resources and capacity. There's no one individual that is assigned as the Climate Change Commission manager or support. There are several team members here from CCSR that help to realize the successful organization of meetings and ensure that the commission is supported in meeting their charge. And then we also have support from Deputy Corporation Counsel Courtney Suako, and various deputy corps are assigned to advise and support boards and commissions as part of their roles and responsibilities.
Mahalo for that really comprehensive answer. Does anybody else have any communication that they'd like to share at this time? Otherwise, I mean, it's kind of rolling into the next item agenda 9, public input for matters not on the agenda. Anything else people want to talk about? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go swiftly into agenda item 10, which is our tentative next meeting dates. And I know usually this is really quite fast, but I wanted to open this up for a little bit of discussion with the commissioners and with Director Gonzer. So our tentative future meeting dates is February 17th, March 17th, April 21st, and May 19th. As you may remember, a very big goal of our commission was to have meetings in the public and to take to have those be potentially information sessions, opportunities for us to share really important information that our commission does, as well as to solicit for feedback and questions and answers from the public so that we can understand what are climate issues that communities around Oahu are facing. So I kind of wanted to open it up for Director Gonzer to talk about, have an open discussion and have commissioners provide feedback on this. I would like to aim with the understanding that this takes a lot of preparation, that also perhaps the dates that we have targeted, which are Fridays from 9 to 11, may not be in line with some of the criteria that we've identified as being ideal conditions for equity, bringing equity into these processes. So I wanted to just open it up for discussion and say I'd like to aim for our April and May meetings to be in person and in the community. And I'd like to invite Director Gonzer to comment on that because we need a lot of assistance and support from OCCSR in order to make this happen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And folks may remember, though not sort of as geographically dispersed out in the community, these meetings used to be in person here on the civic grounds, sometimes at Honolulu Hale in the mayor's conference room or in council committee room. Certainly with advance notice, we can think through the resource needs. Certainly we'd want to continue to facilitate virtual participation, which we always had done in the past through, at minimum, the Facebook Live stream. We'll have to think through the different strategies and resources, and we can facilitate thinking on facilities that could potentially serve for an in-person meeting. Obviously, the alignment of the agenda and all the timing that takes still is the same for in-person meeting and virtual meeting, and just making sure that we can continue to facilitate good meetings. So we'd be happy to think through a commission's proposal. As I understood, there might even be the opportunity, especially if it's intended to deliver similar information, whether it's the Inflation Reduction Act or other kinds of resources or information gathering opportunities, that it might not even need to be so spaced out, right? It could be a little bit of a roadshow, perhaps 1 week and a subsequent week, or 1 week and 2 weeks thereafter, and just making sure that we can get the agenda posted appropriately.
Thank you. And like in terms of thinking about, yeah, what will this these public meetings be about? I am very much interested in kind of utilizing it as opportunities to inform the public about climate change resilience and adaptation monies and funding that is available. And I like the idea that maybe they are spaced very close together because of momentum. And so that people can, if they missed one meeting, they have the opportunity to know that this same information will be at another meeting. So repeat presentations and presenters at two other locations. And so, yeah, at this time, I wanted to open it up to the other commissioners to get feedback and ideas about the process of how we can go about organizing these meetings. So first want to open up and ask Vice Chair Keener.
Just logistically first, I would like to vote for May being our target for the in-person meeting because I might be on research travel in April. That would, but whatever works for the rest of the commission as well. But that would be my vote to target May as our start. Yeah, some things that I would be thinking about are if we could align the meeting location and kind of target with any other either community-driven plans that might be having meetings at the same time. I've found in other kind of stakeholder-driven work that lining meetings up where people are already going to be in a place for a specific reason that's somewhat similar can make it a lot easier for them to attend, as well as increase participation. So if there was, a watershed community plan or some sort of, neighborhood board meeting with anything around climate in the areas that we would look to traveling to line up with, I think that could be a good strategy.
Mahalo, that's great. Commissioner Romine, any ideas? Comments,
Just
questions, or feedback?
yeah, as far as scheduling, I'll just say that we have tentatively scheduled third Fridays of each month. I think I'm still good those days as well as those weeks in a real general sense. So if you want to stick with those weeks and work within that should be fine for me. We had discussed maybe the idea of evening meeting here or there did come up last time, and I know there was some possible concerns about staffing around that too. I don't know if we want to reopen that discussion. I do think that if possible, it might be nice to do at least one meeting at an evening time to try to get folks outside of normal working hours in the community to attend. But I certainly recognize that the challenges that may be associated with that, with staffing from folks from the city.
Yeah, evening or even perhaps like a Saturday might draw or increase participation, and that comes with some concerns that I don't want to, just be like, yeah, we can totally do it. But yeah, for sure. Commissioner Islam?
Yeah, so like Brad, I also have the third Fridays blocked out, but just looking schedule wise, May is a lot easier and the ending part of April. But I like the idea of trying to organize it around a specific topic, right? And show alignment. And so I think Matt spoke earlier that the climate ready adaptation plan is sort of comment period is April, May. So it seems like that potentially could be a topic that we discuss, perhaps with some of the guidance papers that we came out or new research, right? I also just want to know Earth Days in April, so that might be a good way of kind of signaling like emergence into the community. So, but that kind of falls around our current, third Friday timing. But I'm more curious about like how do we prep for our topics and structurally find that kind of alignment with other community organizations.
Yes, those are really good. Those are really good questions. I want to also open it up and ask and get feedback from OCCSR as far as ideas about this. And then of course I'll open it up to the public about these ideas. I mean, I'm glad that we can devote time, actually more time than we have in the past in this meeting, to doing this, because I really it's something that has been an important issue to me, is to return our meetings to the public and to increase the participation and hear back. So Emily, I know you're brand new, but I see you on the line, and I just wanted to ask if you had any feedback with regard to community-based or community-embedded commission meetings upcoming.
Emily's so new that the tech maybe doesn't quite facilitate that
Okay.
participation. Day
No worries.
3.2 right here. Commissioner Roman has his hand up, or I can try to reply.
Oh yeah, Commissioner Romine.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to expand a little bit on the idea of doing some topically focused meetings or discussions with that. I just remind the commission that we've now agreed to do somewhat of an introductory PowerPoint to the updated climate change guidance document. So we could continue to polish that and provide that at a subsequent meeting for the public as we finalize that climate brief document too. So maybe there's an opportunity to kind of maybe bring that around and share the key findings of that and our other guidance documents that we're finishing up here too.
Yeah, I really like the idea of sharing out that information. For me, I am like very focused and have a very strong feeling about educating the public about all of the different, funding opportunities, with the IRA opportunities. There's new monies coming through the Department of the Interior specifically for Native Hawaiian climate things. And then there's more beyond the fence monies that I think the public should be aware of. So other things is that we know there's new Indigenous knowledge guidance from the White House that has come down, and so just having the public know that it's not just, we're on the commission as quote unquote experts, but there's a lot of community knowledge and Indigenous knowledge that we can look to the community and see them, and that they should know that they themselves should consider themselves as practitioners and knowledge holders as well. So those would be some of the topical things that I'm interested in, is informing about climate funding and climate funding opportunities as well. Vicky, did you have anything additional that you kind of wanted to talk about as far as topical things?
I think everyone is scrambling right now to figure out opportunities for getting funding at different scales, whether it's communities or communities working with cities or states or nonprofits or whomever. So I know there has been a lot of research going on in CCSR about that. So, having that PowerPoint deck that we saw before to rely on and add to, if that's something we want to discuss in one of those community meetings, that would be a good resource. Yeah, I'd also really just like it to be a listening session. I feel like these in-community, in-person meetings are an opportunity for people, if they do have, very local concerns or thoughts about climate adaptation or resilience. This is really a chance for them to share the local knowledge in the community, and then we can, if appropriate, work that into future meetings to help respond to some of these needs that are coming out. So I think, leaving a lot of time for feedback and potential discussion is important.
I like that a lot. And I've been thinking about whether or not it's just open mic or if we have facilitated kind of smaller groups, so that, more voices can be heard in that amount of time. Having some experience with Sea Grant and Extension, I have some ideas about different ways we can facilitate conversation as well. That sounds great. Okay, I wanted to again open it up to the public to see if there are any other additional ideas or thoughts about, again, we're thinking, it sounds like late April, May, is what we're thinking. I like Director Gonzer's idea of perhaps if we make them a little bit closer together, that creates momentum, taking it on roadshow. And the topically focused potentially on the updated climate guidance, and again, very much on climate funding opportunities, and then a listening session. So this is what we're thinking. Catherine, I'm seeing in the chat, says, might we see about having a booth at the Scouts Onizuka Day event? Catherine, would you mind coming off of mute and explaining a little bit more about the event?
Each year, the Boy Scouts of America, the Aloha Council hosts an Onizuka Day event, and I do apologize, I need to check on which Saturday that's happening this year. But it's a very large gathering that's focused on STEM, and I've seen a lot of different conservation-oriented booths at the event, and so it might be a great, kind of overlap with some of the themes in terms of building public awareness with a population of people who are invested in doing good works in the community. And so it's either like the 3rd or the 4th Saturday in April. I'd have to go back and check, but it is a very large event, and a lot of different people out there sharing different ways to have Scouts more involved in the community. And so it might be a good fit in terms of raising the profile of some of the activities that the Commission is working on.
Thank you. I'm noting that in my personal notes. So that's great. Any other comments that we might have? If not, I'd like to move on to the next agenda item, which is, are there any announcements that we have as far as upcoming events or upcoming opportunities for feedback? I know that we just as Commissioner Romine said, just finished Climate Week. That was a really amazing opportunity for us to share and bring together different groups of people to talk about this very important issue. But are there any other kinds of announcements that anyone would like to make?
Chair, if I could just make a related announcement to that. For those that were or maybe were not available to attend Climate Week, recordings of many of the events will eventually be available on the state climate change portal, which is climate.hawaii.gov. Folks want to find follow-up information, start at that website. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And I actually wanted to check in with Vice Chair Keener. I know the National Climate Assessment. Is there any updates or things you'd like to share with regard to that?
Yeah, actually, thanks for the reminder. They are doing, I think there's another week or so of public comment. And if you'll give me a minute, I can find a link to that. But they are looking for, all of the chapters are public. And so those are the regional chapters, including the one that we're on, Hawaii and the US affiliated Pacific Islands, as well as the national sectoral chapters. So things like infrastructure, climate and health, ecosystems, things like that. So they are looking for public comments. Each chapter, I don't think they're too long. Each chapter is between like 5 and 10 pages and covers key issues. So it's not too much of a lift to go through if you have some time. And again, these are important because they are at the, the federal level. These are the key messages that will be, communicated and funded and worked on in terms of our region and key sectors. So give me a second and I'll find the link.
That sounds good. Director Gonzer or anybody else in the public, any other announcements or upcoming things that you want us to know about?
I could share something from the architecture community. So AI Honolulu, we're launching a 10-week series on Architecture 2030. So it's our pathway to decarbonization in the built environment. We're going to break it down to the core aspects of what is energy, what is carbon, how do you measure that, what are the strategies you can take as a professional, as community members. So it's, I welcome you guys to attend if you're interested. It's 10 weeks, standing every Tuesday from 3 to 5 at the Center of Architecture.
Wonderful, that's great. Any luck on finding your link, Vicky? We can always include
I wasn't prepared, sorry.
Sorry about that. I was like, oh, what about NCA 5? Well, if there's no other items, we have come to our final item, which is adjournment. I do want to hold open the meeting until Vicky can put in her link so that it can be included in our minutes and also more publicly online.
I'm sorry, it's on my Twitter and that's on my phone. So I'm having, just talk amongst yourself for a minute. Oh.
Maybe I can find it through your Twitter feed. Who knows?
Okay, here we go. So that's the general, and on the right on that link is the request for comment. Here's the more specific comment link to the Federal Register. It is kind of a process. You have to make an account with the Federal Register with your name and information, and all of that. Your name and your comments become public. So they are part of the Federal Register response to NCA 5 when you offer comments. So instructions are on there about how to do it and how to download things that you're interested in. I encourage everyone to take a look.
Thanks so much, Vicky. And then I noted that Catherine put in the chat that the Gale Everlands are having a volunteer eco restoration days starting January 28th. In addition, Matt dropped the AIA Honolulu information, and There's also a link that we will share about some volunteer workdays for the native Hawaiian ecosystems up at Palehua. And so that looks really good. Check it out. There is a question in the chat regarding the announcement you made, Melanie. Do you have information on how to access the information on the AIA program of building decarbonization?
Yes, I was just looking for the link and I'll throw it in there. So hold on. I should know I'm organizing the whole thing, but sometimes, you know, those little things skip my mind.
We have to be more ready with our links.
I know, sorry about that. Maybe that's the pre thing. Get your links ready. Catherine, you have your hand raised. Did you want to say something?
Oh, sorry, I had shared the link. I will take my hand down.
No problem. So we are going to, I don't know if what Matt shared in the chat is the information.
It
that-
is.
Okay, perfect. So we got it right there. All right,
Did you
everybody.
send it, Matt? Oh,
Mhm.
He did. He
thanks.
did. So we
Great.
have reached the end of the agenda, and if there are no further comments, this meeting is adjourned. Mahalo.